Pentecost is an exciting Sunday, full of joy and promise, and you really have the inner child is coming out, right? This is a day when we act kind of crazy, I know that. But I also recognize that there are many ways to experience the Spirit. Before we started our Bible and Bagels program, we, for quite a while, did what was called centering prayer. And some of you might have been involved in it. And what we did is we did kind of like you know, the exercise, yeah. We did the exercises first, and then we went into my office, kind of sat in a semicircle, had a candle burning, and we were to kind of think about a word, an image, and for 20 minutes, absolute silence. We would sit there, and we would, you know, focus on the candle and the image that we had, and get closer to God that way. And for a lot of you, this was really important. It really worked. It was the way in which you experienced the Spirit of God. Well, not everybody in this church comes from the same background, and I recognize that. And we had one fellow from a Pentecostal background who went to this, and finally he said, I can't do this anymore. It's just too quiet. It just really bothers me. I can't handle all that quiet for such a long time. And I recognize that we do not all experience God the same way. And that's okay. That's all right. So often that's the reason why we have different denominations and different churches, because we worship differently. And wouldn't it be something if we could do all different forms of worship under one roof or out there in the garden? And I know it's difficult to pull it off, but it can be done as long as you respect each other. Have a little bit of Pentecostal spirit, a little bit of quiet, a little bit kind of traditional, maybe something that's more contemporary, and do it all in the same place at the same time within a given period of time. And it can be done. In ancient Israel, most of your folks experienced the Spirit with something really high drama. So often in the Old Testament you're told, you know, where are the signs and the wonders of God? And so people would be just kind of hanging together. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. And so some high drama would occur. Maybe it would be an earthquake. Or maybe the oceans would just really foam up there. You're like, oh yeah, God is speaking. All right, now I get it. And in the case of Pentecost, remember all of Jesus' followers there in that building were Jewish. And they were from that tradition. None of this still small voice thing with them, okay? And so what they did, they were waiting for something dramatic to happen. So I could just see them, you know, they're singing and they're praying. And then you have the fire and the wind and the speaking in different languages. Oh, gee, I guess the Spirit of God is with us. That's what it took for them to realize that something really was happening. But not all of us need that. Some of us can be sitting in our backyards and just enjoying the weather, maybe the gentle breezes, and feeling the Spirit moving through us. And that is the way in which we encounter our beloved God. And there are other folks who are kind of in the middle. Music is what really stirs their imagination. Music is how they experience God's presence. And some kind of music, and it could be wild, loud music. It could be very traditional hymn-type music. It can be meditative music. It doesn't really matter, as long as it moves you. And we're all moved differently, aren't we? We're not always moved the same way. And on this day, it's like we get together, we have a worship team. We're thinking, what can we do different this year than we did last year? In the past, we had real doves. Those of you remember that? The real birdies?
Yeah.
And we really had a lot of fun. And what I really like are the little people because they're so open with the way they express themselves. We had the bird, the one bird I remember was in a box with holes on it. And this little girl opens the box and, oh, birdie went poo-poo! You know, and this is how we had before the bird even had a chance to go, I felt the Spirit in this small child got very excited. We've had butterflies. I remember one butterfly took its time getting off the ground. And here's another little creepy child. I mean, I don't mean that the child was creepy. The child was actually crawling on the ground. Was watching the butterfly. Wow, look at that up close. And there was so much joy in her heart. Again, I personally felt the Spirit in that small child. We've had confetti. What else have we had?
Bubbles.
Bubbles, right? The kind of bubbles that don't pop. You know, those plastic bubbles. And so we had, the whole grass was covered with these bubbles for quite a while. Every year we've tried to do something different. This year, thanks to Nellie, she came up with the idea of having balloons. And we said to her, well, there's a little bit of a problem. If we do it inside, they'll be all up there on the ceiling, and what are we going to do to get them down? Because there is another church that meets here in the afternoon. But look at how long the strings are, right? If you would like to take your balloon home, you're more than welcome to. But at least we can retrieve them, right? Because the strings are quite long. Whatever we do, sometimes I have to really use my head to try to come up with it. Oh, what are we going to do this time? But whatever we decide to do, the thing we know is that today is a day of joy. Today actually is considered the birth of the church, because that's when people felt the presence of the Holy Spirit. They were like, whoa, now we can get up and go out and share the good news with everybody. Before that, they were just kind of hanging tight together. But today is really a day of joy and celebration. And so, let us really feel the Spirit as we gather with each other in the fireside room for refreshments, and also as we go on our ways today, that this is really a day of great, great celebration. Amen.
Hallelujah.
Now, I invite you